So welcome, this is Robin Harford from eatweeds.co.uk and foragingcourses.com. I am sitting here in France with Francois Couplan.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
I got it right, cool.
Yeah,
and where in France are we?
Oh, we're in the Alpes de Haute-Provence. That's the southern Alps. You know, it's actually very close to the Mediterranean, but way up in the mountains already. You know, it's about 1,000 meters elevation right here.
Yeah.
Dry in summertime because it's Mediterranean climate and cold in winter.
Yeah. Francois, I first came across Francois because he wrote a book when I'd heard stories of this man. He'd been in America and had written a book called Wild Edible Plants of North America, I think.
Yeah, Encyclopedia of Edible Plants of North America.
Edible, sorry.
Yeah.
And then suddenly found these books written in French and started finding out about you. And we talked a couple of times on email and
we did.
And messaged long time back. And then I've come over here to stay with a friend, and I just said, I wonder if Francois Couplan is here, lives around here. And hey ho, she said, well, I know Francois.
Yeah, we met, for sure.
So
we know
he's
each
only
other.
up the road, and it's like,
really.
wow, that's cool. Okay, well, I've always wanted to meet you, so we're here. So really, I suppose what gets me is I'm very interested in, when I meet plant people, their kind of relationship with plants and what started it, how did they get into it, and then how, is a plant just something that you just pick and eat, and it's God put it here for humans to just use, or is there something else? Is there a different world picture? So how did you get into plants, Francois?
Oh, it's very simple, I got started when I was very young, when I started walking. Maybe I wasn't even walking yet, with my mother. She was an alpinist. She was in love with nature, with the mountain, the Alps, and the plants, And when she had kids, she couldn't take us to the top of the Mont Blanc, so she would take us just walking around, looking at plants and picking mushrooms and berries and this and that. And, Father was an officer in the French army. We come from a family of poor peasants, and he went up the scales of society.
Yeah.
And married the daughter of a physician. So I was a bourgeois, young bourgeois in Paris. And so I had to go to the highest school is Polytechnique. So this is what I had to do. But fortunately, I got kicked out, because of my bad behavior, basically. And too much rock music and not enough math lessons and things.
Yeah.
So I had to go out into the countryside, and I met an old guy. And I was in the east of France. He was a former teacher, and he was a botanist, and he was a poet. And he taught me botany with classical poetry, French poetry, sonnet classique that he would write on each and every plant that was growing out in the woods.
Cool.
There. Yeah. It is. Because, I never put my bottom back on a bench of a school or a university or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just get taught by people, special people who I met. He would send me out in the woods because he had been injured during the First World War, so he couldn't walk that well. And he would tell me, well, you go out in this wood, in this part of the wood, and you're going to find, woodruff, for instance. And you'll find it, or sundew, things like that. And we'd spend the whole day looking for woodruff and for sundew with just a few hints. And, I would find it and go back to his place, and he would take out his notebook of poetry and read to me the poetry that applied to that plant. It was just beautiful, It was just beautiful. And then a little later, I was 20, I met another old man. He was an uncle of mine, as a matter of fact, and he was persona non grata in the family because he was a vegetarian. And the thing to do, since we were rich people, fairly rich, we thought we were rich people, I was eating meat 3 times a day, and I get sick. physicians didn't understand, science didn't know what was wrong with me, but something was wrong. That guy told me, maybe you can stop eating meat 3 times a day. Maybe it's a little too much. And so it took me a long time, it took me about a year to because it's an addiction. Eating meat is an addiction, or can be an addiction, or can be an addiction at least. And so we would go around and look at plants and gather this and gather that and explore and do botany and cook and everything. So I would really expand the fairly small knowledge that I had from childhood, And at one point I realized, well, now, if I want to be independent and I want to live the way society wants me to live, what do I need? Air to breathe. I was in the Alps of Haute-Provence, not far from here. Smell. You can breathe here. You can breathe. And water. There's water all over the place in these mountains. Clear water that you can drink. And then food. Food. Well, I have the plants. So I just took off to the woods and spent. Started doing it in southern France, and then moved over to America, and there I took off to the woods, and started living there for a long time. At first, I went to an herb walk, hoping to learn something, and in the end, I was answering the question of all the people attending the herb walk. So that's America. So people told me, "Hey, you're the herbalist in chief." So anyway, this is what I started doing, taking people around and showing them, teaching them, and gathering together to feed people at the festivals and things like that, And at one point, very practical Americans told me, well, with everything you could give workshops and make it your professions. I was French. In France, you believe you have to work hard and do shit job in order to get money, hard-earned money. And well, I decided to do it, and it worked. It picked up. And great, so I lived 10 years.
So that was in the 70s, was it?
That was in the 70s, yeah. Yeah. And then we are up in Cherokee, Appalachians. I was living all over the place, I was living all over. I was just traveling. For 10 years I never stayed more than maybe a 1 week place, I couldn't. I just had to travel around,
Yeah.
So I went around the whole 48 states and Mexico and Guatemala in winter time because it was cold. So it's a very normal thing to do, isn't it?
Of course it is.
So, but at one point that girlfriend of mine wanted to see what Europe's like. So anyway, we came and she fell in love with France and she picked up French in 6 months. She was speaking fluently. And, I went around, give workshops on plants, are you interested in this and that? And I went to a publisher and said, I got this manuscript that I'd like to publish on edible plants. And poof, I get so many offers that I got stuck here really fast.
So how did you, just to stop you there, how did you, because I have 2 of those books, I haven't got the 3rd one yet. And there's lots of ethnobotanical kind of cross-cultural uses like Corsica and Sicily and places like this. So
I've been around.
So literally from wandering, you picked up the local
most
stories.
Most of it.
Right.
I like to talk from experience and to write from experience.
Sure.
Well, the world is wide, but it's not that big.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you were around, just meet the right people,
Yeah, sure.
And they teach you just everything you need every day.
Yeah.
It's very simple. I spent a lot of time in Crete.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, women especially, of course, gathering plants, but men also.
Yeah.
Leaving work just to go out to the mountain to pick that specific plant because it sells for more than meat does on the markets and things like that. Oh wow! And going around and asking them, why do you pick plants? Come on, because it's good for health. But why don't you grow a garden, vegetable garden like everybody does in England or in France or in, civilized countries,
Yeah.
And they looked at me, with a head on on the forehead and said, "Come on! I mean, look around you. There are all these plants, and God gives them to us. What can you say? You know, they got it. You know, they got it. You know." And the Cretan regime, you know, I mean, it's a joke. I mean, it's just.
So when you say Cretan regime, what do you mean Cretan regime?
Oh, I don't know what you call it in English. You know, this big thing where they had this survey in 1950s proving that Cretan people have the best way of eating in the world.
Yeah. I think we call that the Mediterranean diet now.
Of course, in Mediterranean area, they still to some extent eat plant, but never to the extent that they do it in Crete. Wow. Well, it's hundreds of plants, and I was there in the early 1990s. You know, you have wild edible plants restaurant. In the cities, you got women coming down every morning from the countryside with wild plants that they've picked and that they sell in the markets. And every vegetable stand has their section of wild plants. I mean, it's a culture.
Yeah.
It's a culture. It's the culture of wild plants, of eating wild plants and knowing why they do it. You know. And claiming it and say, well, you know, it's good, it's nice. So wow, when I discovered that, it was very, very great. I wouldn't say a shock, but a great uplifting. You know what I mean? Hey, what I'm saying, what I'm thinking, what I'm living is shared with a whole bunch of people.
I'm not
you know,
mad. I'm not on my own. Yeah.
I never thought I was bad. Anyway, you know, I mean, you know, there's a French writer, Céline, who says, if I'm right and 10 million people are wrong, I'm still right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I feel this way. I have no problem with that. And another thing that really turned me on, well, it's a lot more recent, it's when I discovered that Japanese people do the same, basically, you know. And when I went to Japan and learned that sansai, you know, the mountain vegetable, as they call it, is just not only very respected, it's even a sort of a religious thing, you know. It's part of the relationship that animist people have with nature, you know. And it's just a part of eating, maybe not daily, it's linked to different approach, like putting a special flower or leaf or something in a tokonoma, you know, in the part of the house which is dedicated to the relationship to nature. Mm-hmm. You know, it's heavy, really. I mean, heavy. It's light.
Yeah.
It's light. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. These people, and when I learned that, you know, these people who are the most advanced people in technology in the world, they're animist, and for that reason they have 20% of their land, which is primeval forest. You know, 70%. They live on 30% of the land. 70% of the land in Japan is mountains, and the 70% of the land is forest. You know, they don't clear, because they don't grow animals. They don't cultivate rice on terraces, but on the valley bottoms, and they just have this relationship with nature, which is sacred. You know, it's just normal. You know, they just don't try to play like, you know, they've understood everything. You know, they have their doubts, and their culture is not always in such a good shape because they're more Americanized than Americans.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, on the same hand, but you know, I'm learning a lot from that. You know, you can be both. I mean, I've lived in the woods, and maybe these were the most beautiful times I've had in my life. Possibly. But you know, I'm an urban person. I love Paris. It's the most beautiful city in the world, for sure. I'm prejudiced and I enjoy it, you know.
Oh, shit.
I love London. I like London, you know. I've had such heavy stories, such great stories in London, you know. I love New York. I love Bangkok. I love Tokyo. I don't like so much anyway. I like Kyoto a lot more. Tokyo is not a city anyway. Sort of constellation of suburbs. But Kyoto is a beautiful. I mean, I love big cities, wherever they are. But I can't stay there very long.
Sure.
You know, but I feel part of it. And the thing, as far as I'm concerned, is that it's just normal to be. It's more than normal, maybe, to be at the same time living close to nature while living in a big city at the same time. You know, like here, we're in probably the wildest part of Europe. Probably. I said probably because there are places which are more forested, where you can find a lot of people who live in the mountains. Here, the land is empty. It's basically empty. You know, people left. People left because living conditions were too difficult and they could find better. Whereas in other parts of Eastern Europe, for instance, people couldn't find better, so they're still living there. I like to be here. I like to teach here, you know. I spend every summer, I've spent every summer for the last 30-something years, since 1984 anyway, 32 years here. And it's great. And I really like I give workshops, you know, like I call it gastronomy sauvage.
Yeah.
You know, where we cook together, we gather plants together, and we cook and give recipes and do tea ceremony and things like that. And then what I call soft survival, where I take people out. That's this way, you know.
Yeah.
We're in the interface between civilization and wilderness here, you know. And wilderness is there. It's wild. It really is. I just love taking people out there, and we gather plants, and we're just there. And to me, it's just part of life. It's just part of my life. It's just as normal to do it as sit behind my computer and write a new book or answer an email or things like that, you know. And this is really this freedom, this what's the word? This completion that I feel, you know, that I like to share with people, you know. And to me, it's very easy, you know. I'm not the teacher, you know. Plants are the teacher. It's obvious, you know. I can give people hints, hints. And after working with people, you know, I've been giving workshops for 45 years, and in the last 8 years, I've set up a school, 3 years. It's near Lyon. It's pretty central for French-speaking countries, you know, because I found it really, you know, getting so close to people as we do during a seminar, because, you know, time stops, you know, we are here.
Yeah, sure.
We're here, we've always been here, together, with the plants, you know. But then, after a week, it stops. So I wanted to keep this connection with people and be able to work with them, bring them, go deeper, explore with them deeper, because, you know, I can give them information, I can show them directions, but as I say, you know, they're the one who know where they want to go, you know. But it's really nice to be able to do that, you know, work with people for 3 years and realize it's very short, you know. As I said earlier, to learn to be a leader of a tea ceremony, it takes 15 years.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
You know, so what can you hope to do in 3 years? But still a lot.
Yeah.
Still a lot, and be on the way.
I mean, why is it important to you that, you know, people start paying attention to plants more?
Because for me, I don't see any other way of living, because it makes me happy, and because I like to share this happiness, and because I'm just tired of seeing people banging on their fingers all the time and complaining. You know, life is hard, you know, it's his fault, it's Monsanto, come on, it's your responsibility. You know, take your life into your hands, it's right there, you know, and just open up to what's given to you, you know.
Yeah.
It's very simple. It's very simple. So when people start looking at plants, whatever they are, things change. Things just change easily. I mean, they create a relationship with non-human being. And we need to create relationships with non-human beings. You know, we're getting sick because we're turning in circles with us at the center. You know, and come on, I mean, it's not a way of living. I mean, it's insane. You know, so I'd like people to become sane, healthy, thankful, just because the only thing we can do is be thankful. Whatever happens to us is something that we've created, that we've put out, you know. It comes back to us, you know. So put out something that's pleasant, it's better, but no matter what, be thankful, because it helps you grow. And that's exactly what you need at the time where you are, you know.
You mentioned, Shinto and animism and things like that. And in my own plant journey, I've visited cultures that are animist. And I really like animism. It's a little bit offbeat for a lot of people.
Sometimes a little crazy.
I just wondered, does your kind of worldview incorporate? I mean, are the plants? Do they have spirit like animists believe that every it's not just plants? I mean, animists believe everything has a living spirit.
Oh yeah, not only plants, everything.
Everything, yeah.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's obvious. I mean, what can I say?
Okay,
what can I say? I mean, you know, but I don't have to drink a lot of sake, you know, to realize that that plants have spirits, you know, or do rituals or build temples or anything, you know. Nature is a temple anyway. Yeah. You know, and nature is everywhere. Nature is even, as I said earlier, you know, in the Bois de Boulogne in Paris or in Hyde Park in London or on the streets or anywhere. You know, nature is here. I mean, as soon as you have something growing, alive, it's a manifestation of the spirit of nature. What else?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I once saw this wonderful photograph, and it was a picture of a pavement with this plant breaking through, and then someone had graffitied resistance and an arrow pointing at the plant, and
exactly.
It was just like
you know, something very important, something that that I like to tell people. How can I put it? It's dynamics. It's look at things dynamically. You know what I mean? Okay. We're here on this land here, and here, you know, we have some poplars, and we have some rose hips and this and that. Okay, and when I look at this land here, I'm not seeing only what is here right now, but I see what was here before and what will be later. You know, look at things dynamically.
Yeah.
When I'm in a city, I don't only see the city and this little twig or this little dandelion or whatever, you know, between the pavement, in the crack of a pavement or whatever, you know. But I see what was here before, the forest that was here before the city. And I see how the forest is manifesting itself again through this little dandelion or whatever, you know, and how it will be again someday, you know. And, you know, it's not, I need to take acid or anything to see that, you know.
Sure.
It's just watching, you know, it's just watching. And like here, you know, when I see the poplars, you know, these poplars have been planted, you know.
Yeah.
There have been people here before, you know. And now the land has been pretty devastated by overgrazing, over-cultivating, and this and that for 3,000 years. Basically, yeah. There used to be people all over the place.
Yeah.
Really, all over the place, you know. There wasn't a forest on the other side, you know, there were fields.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
she always reclaims, didn't she? Nature always.
But slowly here, you know.
Slowly, yeah.
You know, and I know that here it's going to take 400 years because we get into a natural forest. It's not going to be a primary forest, of course. It's going to be a secondary forest, but it's going to be a natural forest, a climatic forest, you know.
Yeah.
You know, And, it will come. And it's, it's okay. I won't see it, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it right now.
Yeah.
I'm living it right now.
You're part of it, and you're contributing to it. You have to, surely. Everything contributes.
Exactly.
Irrespective of whether or not it wants to.
Exactly.
It does, just by living.
Exactly. But still, and that's the thing. That's the trick. We cannot just do anything. We cannot just say, "Oh, man is part of nature, so big deal." We're gonna cut everything, put a big supermarket. It's man, it's nature, it's Anthropocene. We're in a new era now, man's era, and it's nature.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. It just doesn't work like that. We have a responsibility. We have to position ourselves. We have to say, this I want, this I don't want. And at the same time, know that no matter what we want, what we do, it's right. It's a little tricky to understand. I call it the paradoxal thought. It's true. Okay, man is a paradox. We are part of nature and we are not part of nature at the same time. And if you understand that, it makes it a lot easier. Really. It does. So that's what plants teach us.
Yeah. So I've seen you on videos up in Copenhagen with René Redzepi and the whole kind of lovey, wild food, chefy, gourmet people. What's your take on this whole kind of fad movement that's come in?
I love to eat. Je suis gourmand. Not only gourmet, also gourmand.
Okay.
I love to eat. And working with chefs, at one point I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Now, what I think is these people have a lot of media exposure. They have a responsibility. I'd like them to take their responsibility. They can do, now we've pretty much created, this movement with Marc Vera, which, and, René Redzepi learned from Marc Vera and Michel Bras, these older people our age,
Yeah.
and René did a very great thing, spreading the idea of local food, of using wild plants, making something normal. I'm very thankful for that to him. But of course, it's very difficult, when you get all that exposure, when you get all these people telling you, wow, great, this is that everyone wants to do the same, and that everybody has the same talent. And when something becomes a fad, then it loses something, it loses its spirit, it loses its essence, So, great, things are rolling, but we have to keep them in a direction which is sensible, I would say,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work to be done, and I want to do it,
So
if
some young chefs, or not even necessarily young chefs, just some chefs presented themselves to you,
that
and
happens.
You were talking to them. What would you say to the chefs who are wanting to expand?
Well, it's happening to me right now. One young chef whom I met at Nomads over there, and he wants to work with him, and I told him, well, you come, you join one of my seminar, and we spend 2 days together, and you see how do you want to develop your relationship with plants, your own relationship with plants, and then we'll talk from there.
Right. So it is really important, from what I'm hearing you're saying, it's very important for the chefs to have their own relationship with plants.
It's very important for everybody to have their own relationship with plants.
Yeah.
What I'm doing here, and that's the only thing I can do, and I know how to do basically, is give people the possibility to develop their own relationship with plants, be them chefs or be them office workers or be them naturopaths or be them shamans, or maybe they don't need me, I don't know. You know, maybe they don't need me, but I'm doing it with everybody I meet, and it works. It works, you know. It makes people say, "Wow, it smells like mushroom. It's a plantain leaf."
Yeah.
And you know, I've known plantain for 50 years, and I didn't know it smells like mushroom. And I thought, well, you know, and it tells you what you can do with it. You know, make pesto. You'll have a mushroom pesto without mushroom. You know, simple. You know, that's why. You know, I mean, I'm still doing the same thing over and over again. You know, with people who don't know, can't hardly distinguish a daisy from a dandelion, you know. I still enjoy it. It's because when I tell them that, you know, and they smell it, wow, you know, you see their eyes go blum, like that. It's great. It's the greatest reward, you know.
So for anyone starting out and listening to this, what would be your kind of, in a sentence, your advice to someone who wants to start to forage? What would be your advice?
For one thing, don't forage. You know, go and meet the plants. Don't forage. I don't like the word. Comes from the French fourage, you know, what you give to the animals.
Yeah.
Because plants were just good for the peasants and the lowest people. Come on. You know, I'm serious about that. You know, I wrote in the Association of Foragers, and
nobody picked up on it.
No. But you know, I know. I'd like to make myself heard because it's important. Because every word we use, because every action we take has a meaning and goes very, 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 very deep and very, very, very far.
So, what word would be synonymous with what you do? Gatherers?
I like gatherers because, of course, you know, it brings us to our Paleolithic ancestors, and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word, I'd keep it right now. You know, I got a word. I got some words. I'm just at the beginning. You know, I'm just starting. You know, I'm just starting right now. I've got a lot of things I'd like to put into words, into thoughts, into to share with people. You know, it's just burgeoning right now.
Yeah.
You know. We'll talk about it again.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, I'd love. I'm going to definitely get you back on a podcast again. But we've kind of been running this one for quite a while, so.
I'm starting to get cold and hungry, to tell you the truth.
Okay,
you know?
right. Well,
I didn't have lunch today. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks you very much. And.
All right.
Yeah.
Good to be with you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah.